She rolled her eyes and said, "Every woman eventually gets bored with men like you." I calmly finished cleaning the apartment before leaving forever. 8 months later, she accidentally sat behind me during a fully booked charity gala downtown. "Every woman eventually gets bored with men like you." She said it like she was reading a grocery list. Flat. Bored. Already finished with me. I didn't answer. I picked up the sponge from the sink and kept wiping down the counter. I looked at the ring of coffee stain that had been there since Tuesday. The one she always asked me to clean, and I always forgot. That's when something finally clicked. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply made one decision. At that moment, I thought I was only ending a relationship. Months later, I'd realize I had changed both of our lives forever. I thought we were building a future. I trusted her completely. I believed this relationship was permanent. I had absolutely no idea it had already started falling apart. Looking back, that wasn't even the beginning. If you enjoy real stories like this, subscribe, because what happened next changed everything for me. I was 32. We lived in Brooklyn. She worked in marketing. I ran a small consulting business out of a shared office in Dumbo. We'd been together for almost 5 years. Stop. That's all that matters right now. The apartment was quiet after she said it. Not silence. The kind of quiet that has weight to it, like the air itself is waiting to see what you'll do. I finished the counter, then the stove. Then I wiped down the sink until it shined the way she liked it, even though I wasn't sure why I bothered. "You're really not going to say anything?" she said, arms crossed, standing in the doorway to the kitchen. "What do you want me to say, Sabrina?" "Something. Anything. You're acting like I just told you the mail came." I rinsed the sponge and set it on the little dish by the faucet. "You told me I bore you." "I heard you." "That's not what I said." "Close enough." She rolled her eyes again, the same motion she'd made 100 times over 5 years, except this time it didn't feel careless. It felt final, like she'd been saving it up. I walked past her into the bedroom and pulled my suitcase down from the closet shelf. "What are you doing?" "Packing." "Dean," it was one comment. It wasn't one comment. I folded a shirt, set it in the case. It was 5 years of comments. I just finally heard the last one. She stood in the doorway with her phone in her hand, not saying anything, watching me fold clothes like it was the strangest thing she'd ever seen a man do calmly. I didn't slam anything. I didn't yell. I zipped the suitcase, took my jacket off the hook by the door, and left my apartment key on the kitchen counter, right next to the coffee stain I'd just cleaned. "You're seriously leaving?" "Tonight." "I already did the dishes," I said. "You're welcome." I walked out. I didn't look back at the building once I hit the sidewalk. Somewhere behind me, for flights up, a light stayed on in a window I used to call home. I checked into a Marriott near my office that night. I lay on top of the covers in my clothes and stared at the ceiling for a long time. At the time, I told myself it was just a bad fight. Looking back, I should have noticed the fight had been building for over a year. That's when I remembered something. 3 years earlier, at her sister's wedding, Sabrina's mother had pulled me aside near the bar. "She likes exciting," her mother had said, swirling her wine. "You're steady. Steady doesn't always keep her attention, sweetheart." I'd laughed it off then. I thought steady was the whole point. I hadn't understood what she meant. Not really. Not until the apartment, the sponge, the coffee stain. The first few weeks after I moved out were rough in ways I hadn't expected. Not because I missed her. I was surprised by how quickly that particular ache faded, but because everything around me had been built assuming she'd still be there. The gym membership was in both our names. The lease renewal notice came addressed to both of us. My business partner, Wade, kept asking how things at home were going because I hadn't told him yet. "There is no home," I told him over coffee one morning. "Not that home anyway." Wade set his cup down slowly. "You're serious. Dead serious. You seem fine." "I did the dishes on the way out," I said. "I think I'm still in shock." He laughed, but it faded fast when he realized I wasn't joking about any of it. I moved into a small one-bedroom in Bed-Stuy. Half the size of the old apartment, twice the rent per square foot, but it was mine. Nobody else's name on the lease. Nobody else's opinion about the coffee stains. For the first month, business slowed. I was distracted, tired, running on the kind of low-grade exhaustion that comes from not sleeping right. I lost a client, a mid-sized logistics company, because I missed a deadline for the first time in 4 years. That stung more than the breakup did, if I'm honest. I remember sitting at my desk that night, the city lights blinking outside my window, thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. 2 months in, Wade convinced me to come to a networking mixer downtown. I almost didn't go. I told him I wasn't in the mood to shake hands and hand out business cards while pretending my life wasn't a mess. You need to leave the apartment for something other than groceries, he said. Come on. 1 hour. I went. That's where I met Blaine, an investor who ran a small fund out of Midtown. We talked for maybe 15 minutes about supply chain consulting, and by the end of the conversation, he'd asked for my card. Send me your deck, he said. I like how you think. I didn't have a deck. I'd never needed one. My business had grown through referrals, word of mouth, steady work. But that night, sitting at my kitchen table with a glass of water instead of the wine Sabrina always kept stocked, I started building one. It took me 3 weeks of late nights. I redesigned my whole service offering, thought harder about my pricing, rebuilt my website from scratch. Somewhere in there, I stopped checking my phone for a text from Sabrina that never came. The deck impressed Blaine enough to get me a second meeting. It didn't turn into funding. Not yet, but it turned into an introduction to a mid-sized retail chain looking to overhaul their inventory systems. That client alone was worth more than I'd made from any single account in 2 years. Small success. Then, almost immediately, a setback. The retail chain's CFO wanted the whole project delivered in half the time I'd quoted. I nearly lost the deal trying to push back on the timeline. I didn't sleep for 4 days straight trying to figure out how to make it work without breaking my own systems. In the end, I brought in a contractor, a sharp data analyst named Qley, who Wade knew from business school, and together we delivered the first phase 2 days early. The CFO shook my hand in the lobby afterward. You people actually do what you say you'll do, he said. You'd be surprised how rare that is. I thought about Sabrina's mother at the wedding. Steady doesn't always keep her attention. Maybe not, but it kept clients. Around the 4th month, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in a while, Sabrina. I stared at it for a long moment before answering. Hey, she said. Her voice sounded different. Smaller. I saw you got tagged in something. That retail project. It's a big deal, right? It's all right. That's amazing, Dean. Really? I didn't say anything. I've been meaning to call, she went on. I wanted to say I didn't mean what I said. That night, I looked out my window at the skyline, the same one I used to look at from a different apartment, a different life. I have a meeting in 10 minutes, I said. I have to go. Oh, okay. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime. Catch up. Maybe, I said, which we both understood to mean no. I hung up and sat there for a minute before going back to my laptop. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel triumphant either. I just felt like a man with a meeting in 9 minutes now. Business kept building through the summer. The retail account led to 2 referrals. The 2 referrals led to a small feature in a local business journal. Nothing huge, just a paragraph about consultants to watch, but Wade printed it out and taped it to the office fridge like it was a Pulitzer. I started dating again, carefully, without urgency. Nothing serious. A few dinners here and there. Nothing that made me forget how to breathe, which honestly felt like a relief after 5 years of forgetting how. Then, in September, Blaine called. I want to talk seriously about funding, he said. Not just an investment. A real partnership. I think what you're building could scale. We met for lunch near Union Square. He laid out numbers that made my chest tight in a way that had nothing to do with anxiety. You'd need to grow the team, he said. Bring on real staff. Think bigger than boutique. I thought about the apartment in Bed-Stuy, the sponge, the coffee stain, the suitcase I packed calmly on a night I thought was just another fight. I'm in, I said. By November, the company had a name people recognized in certain circles, Kestrel Advisory, something Wade and I landed on after 3 bad brainstorming sessions and too much coffee. We hired 2 analysts. Qley came on full-time. We moved into a real office with our name on the glass door. A local business association invited me to speak on a panel about resilience in small consulting firms. I almost said no. Public speaking never came naturally to me, but Wade pushed, the way he always did. You have a story people want to hear, he said. Tell it. I stood on that small stage under warm lighting and talked about the year I'd had. I didn't mention Sabrina by name. I didn't need to. I lost something I thought was permanent, I told the room. And instead of trying to win it back, I decided to build something that couldn't be taken from me the same way. Someone in the audience clapped before I'd even finished the sentence. It caught me off guard. Afterward, a woman from a local charity foundation approached me. Her name was Julie's friend, actually. Small world in this business. And she invited Kestrel to sponsor a table at their annual gala downtown in December. It's a good crowd, she said. Good for visibility. Good for the right kind of attention. I said yes before I even checked my calendar. The gala was held in a hotel ballroom near Bryant Park, the kind with high ceilings and a string quartet tucked in the corner that nobody really listens to but everyone appreciates having there. I wore the navy suit I'd bought after the funding closed, the first genuinely expensive thing I'd purchased for myself in years. Wade elbowed me at the entrance. "You clean up all right for a guy who used to eat cereal for dinner during a breakup." "That was 1 week," I said. It was 3. The evening moved fast. Handshakes, small talk, a silent auction I half paid attention to while checking emails on my phone. Around 8, the seating shifted for dinner. 600 guests, round tables packed shoulder to shoulder, the room fully booked weeks in advance according to the program. I sat down at our table, unfolded my napkin, and glanced at the table behind mine as the noise settled. That's when I heard it. "Dean." I turned. Sabrina sat 2 feet away, in a black dress, her hand frozen halfway to her water glass. For a second, neither of us said anything. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said finally. "I didn't know either," I said. "Small city, apparently." She glanced at the Kestrel advisory placard on our table, then back at me. This is your company?" "Co-founded it this year. I heard rumors you'd done well, but I didn't realize." She stopped herself. A man beside her, early 40s, expensive watch, the kind of confidence that comes from money rather than character, leaned in. "Everything okay, babe?" "Yeah," Sabrina said, too fast. "Just an old friend." I let that sit for a second before turning back to my own table. Wade caught my eye and raised an eyebrow, silently asking if I needed rescuing. I shook my head slightly. I didn't. Throughout dinner, I felt her glance over more than once. I didn't return it. Not out of spite. I genuinely had nothing left to prove to her. I was just there for dinner, for the company, for a mission statement about literacy programs in underserved schools that I actually cared about. Near the end of the night, as people mingled near the dessert table, she found her way over to me anyway. "You look good," she said. "Really good. Thanks. I heard you on that panel a few weeks back." Someone sent me a clip. I hadn't known there was a clip circulating. I didn't ask. "I should have called back," she said. "In the spring, when you said you had a meeting. You did call back. Sort of. Just now." She laughed, a little nervously, glancing back toward her table where the man in the expensive watch was talking business with someone else, oblivious. "I think about it a lot," she said. "That night. What I said." I nodded slowly. "I think about it too, sometimes." Her face shifted, hopeful for half a second. "I think about how it was the best thing you ever said to me." I finished. "Because I finally listened." She didn't have a response for that. "It was good seeing you, Sabrina," I said. "Take care of yourself." I walked back toward Wade and Qley, who were already gathering their coats near the coat check, laughing about something unrelated to any of this. I didn't look back at her table on my way out. I didn't need to. Some conversations, and forever the moment you stop needing them to continue. That gala was the last time I ever saw her.